Hello, Paddy.
Hello, Karl.
Listen, it's great for you to come down here. It's an honour and a privilege to be sitting with such an esteemed actor, described as many as Ireland's finest, if not one of the finest actors.
I am mortified with that because I'm still working after 30 years in the business. I'm very, very grateful, Karl, to be healthy and still working. I'm delighted to be a part of Coffee at Wynns. I've had many's the cup of coffee in here, interviews maybe in the bar, sometimes meeting directors, designers, you name it. And then maybe over to Cleary's for a bit of shopping, bit of refuge from the city.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of part of me. It's part of my escape sometimes to pop into Wynns or to pop into Cleary's when it was there.
When it was there.
Or Easton's across the road.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's all part of that dynamic.
It is, yeah.
And then down the street you have the Abbey, you know?
And then you have the Abbey down the road.
Yeah. As described as many as the Mecca.
Yeah, the big home.
The big home,
yeah.
You know? So you're originally from Cove,
yeah,
Cork, the rebel county.
Yes, I am.
And you started off your whole acting career in community acting and theatre and this sort of stuff. Then you came to Dublin. You were working on Pust. And could you tell us something about that, where you started visiting the likes of the Abbey and Gate?
Like I would have done a lot of amateur drama at home. It's a huge thing still down the country, all over the country. So from a very young age, I was very lucky. You know, I was nurtured in the community. We did everything from John B. Keane to Georges Feydeau.
Okay.
You know, you did it. Like I was introduced to writers. Continental theatre at a very, very young age, because in amateur drama you can experiment.
Yeah.
It's not about commerce. It was about, you know, if somebody had an idea, some director in the town had an idea, they would say, let's do this mad play from La La La, or let's do a bit of Tennessee Williams or whatever. So I was introduced to all that at a very young age, and I was really grateful for it. But then I got a bug for I suppose, trying out different characters, escaping, I suppose, in a very healthy way into literature and theatre. And I think it was really a really important part of my journey to becoming a worker in the industry.
Yeah.
And then when I joined the post office as a very young man, I used to work on Naas, Dundalk and Newbridge and Portlaoise and places, but I'd always come to Dublin at the weekends then. My brother was living out in Tala, so I'd come to Dublin and I'd stay with him, and I'd go to the Abbey because I always knew that the Abbey was the Mecca and was the national theatre. And I'm still very proud of that we have our own national theatre. It's part of the identity of us. It's not even just the place, it's the reflection of our culture, you know.
Yeah.
And it's still very much alive, and I'm very proud
and
to have worked there.
Sorry, and this is where it triggered you into this whole, your whole acting technique. You were there one day, you were in seeing a play by Tom McIntyre, his version of the Pat Kinevane, The Great Hunger.
Yeah, never forget it.
Right,
never forget going into it. I think I went into it. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know where you get tickets. I didn't know, you know what I mean. But I remember being really nervous because I knew I was going into this this institution that had a reputation all over Europe, up to and including and near to and right in the heart of Moscow arts, and the Abbey Theatre kind of parenthesised a lot of.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Anything in between was in between, but they were very renowned, and I knew this. I don't know how did it go in some sort of osmosis. It went into my head.
But it certainly triggered something in you.
It did, yeah.
In your direction of.
I remember going and seeing the Great Hunger, and I remember going and seeing beautiful Tom Hickey on stage, and I was going, oh my God, this is national theatre, and I saw that the audience were like, they were devoted. They were as far as they were concerned, they were at a football match if you were into sport. You know what I mean? And they were like, ah.
I know, every bit of it, you know.
Every bit of it.
Yeah. So then you actually were working. You became a working actor in the Abbey. You did many a play there. And so what's the most notable bit of work you've done in the Abbey for yourself?
I suppose the very first one that I went in with was a play called Drama at Inish, and I was really blessed to be able to go in there in a big ensemble cast, and the likes of Mick Lally were there, and Niall Buggy, amazing actor, you know.
Yeah.
Barbara Brennan, you big
legends in Irish theatre.
Yeah, and
absolute legends.
Just to be able to watch people like that,
yeah.
and to be able to be around them, and you know, Marie Mullen, amazing people.
Yeah.
That have worked and still work really hard and are amazing ambassadors for Irish theatre. So yeah, that was amazing just for what it was, my introduction to the Abbey, but or the Abbey stage, because I'd worked in the Peacock downstairs as well, which I love. But I was very lucky earlier on, Karl. I got a lot of really good breaks, and I was I got cast a lot.
Yeah.
Which is, it was really fortunate, and I knew. And I still am very grateful. I don't take anything for granted, you know what I mean? It's chance and time. And
yeah, but you're a hard-working actor. You really work. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I believe in fortune as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of fortuitousness of it.
Yeah,
that
yeah, absolutely.
I was looked after. You know, there was something looking after me. So I'm very much aware of that. Funnily enough, I decided to become an actor just shortly after my father died. And I remember thinking, that was 1988, and I started in 1989. And I said, well, because he was a beautiful man, and it had nothing to do with the arts at all. But I remember thinking, oh, well, he's gone, and I loved him very much. So I thought, well, I'm not going to waste my life. It was like a resurrection for me.
Right, okay.
So it actually was his death that spurred me into the business.
Wow. That's incredible. And then we'd say, for example, then after the Abbey, you started getting involved with Jim Cullinan and Fishamble.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the time, you'd be, one would be a working actor, a freelance actor, going from one theatre company to the other. And I came across this really creative, great, beautiful man, Jim Cullinan, and he cast me in one of his plays and that they were doing, and I did it. And then after that, he approached me and asked me, would I be interested in writing something? I had a treatment of my first full-length play, just a treatment of it. It was called The Nun's Wood, and we did that, and that was a great success, and which I was really surprised about, but I was very humbled by. And then we just built up a really good working relationship. So 13 years ago, I started working with him on my own solo work then.
Okay.
Because I just had a kind of a change in my head. I needed to step back from the actual, I suppose, the rhythm of what was happening before. I wanted to say things.
So, but by all accounts, Fishamble and Jim Cullinan, they're very open to trying out new ideas.
Oh, yeah.
You know, going into areas that traditionally people wouldn't go near, you know?
Brand new Irish writing.
Yeah.
You know, nurturing it, taking it in, being a production house for it, to take it from its very raw state at the start as an idea, and to be there and to help and to nurture and to...
So both sides can really grow in it, you know?
Yeah.
So you must have felt there was an awful lot of artistic freedom there for yourself.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Which is...
I would. And also, that's a really... The artistic freedom bit is very important to me, especially as I get older, you know?
Yeah.
I believe in structure. I believe... I love working with creative people, like even on the new show that we've just opened before, like you're working with amazing stage managers and stage directors, you're working with wonderful costume designers, you're working with lighting designers, you know, all of that is amazing to watch. Musicians, composers, you know, all of that's really important. But within that structure, I love to let it go mad.
And just see where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
And do you find most of your work is solo that you're doing? You're going in and out of characters, you're doing all the characters, and to switch from one character to the next, back in and out again, is that a tremendous strain?
It's not a strain at all. I decided when I started working by myself, I decided that I would never complain.
Okay.
And I said, you don't complain now, Kinevane. You go do your work, you shut up. You're privileged to have a company behind you producing your work, and that people are receiving the work, that the audiences are actually coming out.
Yeah.
People are paying for tickets, babysitters, car parking, to see stuff that I would have written in my kitchen table, you know? I think that's a really, really great privilege. So what I do is I treat my work with respect. So I go in and I work hard, but I love that, you see, as well. I love working hard. I love
I know, but I think
sweating.
I think you can feel that in your work. It really comes through. Like we'll just try to take, for example, silent. I mean, you're touching on real social issues that are, unfortunately, are such a real part of the world we live in now.
They are, yeah.
And to be exploring that and going with, you know, starting from somebody that had everything in his life and then suddenly he loses his job and then you just have the downward spiral. So you address that at the start and you just follow it all the way through, which I think is really interesting because I think it's important that you have people like yourself in the arts, you know, showing this for what it is and explaining to an audience. As you said, and I quote, it could be you.
Yeah, I suppose it's just one of those things that as I get older, I realise how your vulnerability never decreases. I've always kind of let my vulnerability lead me. It can be dangerous because you can find yourself in situations that you didn't expect to be in. But when it comes to creativity and vulnerability, I think it's very important to me to be allowed to express myself like that and to understand that sometimes to have compassion, of course, is a lovely human trait, but sometimes it can haunt you sometimes.
Yeah.
So in order to escape that haunting, really, it's important for me to be able to express it through fiction. You know what I mean? But always grounded in my own sense of, we'll say, maybe pain for somebody else or the injustices that's happening to them. You know?
That's fantastic. Because you really articulate that through your plays, you know?
Well, I'm very, very lucky and I'm very blessed and like I'm going to just keep going as long as I can. I believe that the theatre is probably one of the remaining untapped modes of communication.
Where you can still speak the truth and get it out there.
And you can get it out there and it's not edited.
Yeah.
It's there. It's raw every night. And people still want that, I think.
I think so, absolutely.
You know?
Especially more now than ever, probably, you know. Then getting on to that award you got, the Olivier Award 2016, how did that feel? It must have been incredible.
Well, I remember being in Australia in early 16 because in 15 we had been in London. We had done Silent in Soho, in London, Soho Theatre. And it went really, really well, Karl, and we were delighted to be there and we gave the best work we could. And so Jim and Fishamble and Culture Ireland and everybody were amazing to us. And anyway, we did it and I came home and I went to Australia in early 16 and then I got a phone call from Jim and he said, he said, Pat, at the time I was working in Adelaide and he said, hi Pat, this is Jim here, listen, I just want to say to you that something mad's after happening. And I said, what? He said, we've been nominated for an Olivier Award. And I said, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of cursing. Right?
I know.
And he said, no, I remember hanging up and, you know, laughing.
Yeah.
And then he ran back, he said, look, I really mean this. And apparently, anyway, but at that time it sunk in that we had been nominated for an Olivier Award, that people had come and seen the show, who we didn't expect to come from the whatever judging system they have. And we were nominated. So then there was a ceremony in April 2016, and normally I don't go to things like that.
Yeah.
Because I believe, for example, in Ireland, I believe that, you know, award ceremonies are kind of ridiculous, really, because we're such a small country and we shouldn't be putting ourselves up against each other in any way, shape or form. But London's so huge. Yeah,
absolutely.
And you know what I thought? I thought this is a lovely thing for the Olivier team to do, to actually recognise Irish writing and performance in London. I thought it was a really lovely thing, especially in 2016.
Yeah, I know.
So I thought, because of the year that was in it and because I was feeling very proud to be Irish in 2016, we went.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant.
But we didn't expect to win. And when we won, there was a lot of expletives. And I felt it was important to be there, particularly in that year.
Yeah.
That to recognise that we have a voice for a small country and to be in one of the biggest cities in the world of theatre, that we actually were recognised for that. It doesn't really matter to me that much, like, because I'm still the same, you know. I wouldn't let it affect me like that. I still like to keep my head down and work, but I think it's wonderful for Fishamble and for Jim Culliton, because they deserve that after 30 years of nurturing. It's lovely to be given that reward, you know.
So you see something coming back for your work. But I think it was, you know, it really was a team effort on that one, wasn't it? I mean,
it was a team effort.
I mean, they let you have the artistic freedom. They backed you up, and it
was just an extraordinary evening, because we didn't expect to be in the middle of all this glitterati.
I know. And you being the writer as well, like.
It was really weird, because we were walking up the red carpet to it, and nobody knew who we were. We were taking pictures of each other because nobody was taking pictures of us.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful thing to happen, I suppose, in a way, for anyone who works in Irish theatre, to realise that, you know, if sometimes if you really work hard and you believe in your creativity, that lovely things can happen.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, you come across as somebody who's really firmly feet on the ground. And,
have to be, you know.
Well, a lot of people would lose it after something like that now, you know.
Yeah, it's a very strange. I think I've always been aware of, in this game, that you have to be kind of racehorsey. That you have to put a grip in your mouth and pull yourself back like a racehorse.
Yeah.
Your ego is very, very dangerous. It can be very dangerous for people. So I'm very tough on myself like that.
Okay.
You know, I will not allow myself. I'll gallop when I'm working.
Yeah.
And you know, but for the most of the time, I'm just trotting. Like.
Yeah. And listen, talking about, we'll say before now, a great success. You're just after finishing up there with it again. Yeah. And then you're going to head off, for January, is it?
January, we're heading
off to Washington.
March. We're heading off to Washington, with Silent. Before has just opened. It's like a new baby of a piece. It's my 4th solo piece. And we did a 5-week tour around Ireland. Strollers Network, and it was amazing. And you know, you never know, Karl, when you have a new piece, how it's going to be received. And people have been really, really kind, and I feel like a little boy with it.
Yeah.
You know? And we wrote the music. I wrote the melodies with brilliant composer Dennis Glassy, who did everything else and arranged an amazing score. And I suppose the biggest joy of it was that we got to get the RT Concert Orchestra to record the soundtrack, and they did.
And may I add, you're a bit of a singer as well.
I'm acting singing. I'm not actually singing, because the character has to be not really good.
Okay.
So if people
very modest.
Well, it's like, I think sometimes if things are too slick for a character, particularly like Punches is the main character in it. Yeah. And I think he might alienate his audience if he was actually too much of a. If he was West End standard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because he comes across as somebody you'd know.
Yeah.
Like Punches is a very real character, you know, and his life, you know, is on a bit of a slippery slope at the best of times. And then he meets up with his daughter after, what is it?
17 years.
17 years, you know.
In Cleary's on the day that Cleary's closes down.
I mean, the chances of that, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just brilliant, you know.
I suppose it's very important for me, even though I live in the city and I love Dublin. It's been really good to me, brilliant to me. But it's very important to me to always represent the country. Do you know what I mean? And to gently remind people that there's a huge swathe of hearts and souls living, you know, in beautiful places, but in isolation as well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of lonely girls down the country still, and there's a lot of lonely men down the country still. So we can have all this communication and technology, but people are still, they're still beautiful, but they're still isolated and lonely. So, and I suppose that's really part of Before, is that despite the fact that things are moving on, and we're moving on, and people are talking about broadband and blah, blah, blah. Please God, it'll all sort itself out around the country. But that the human condition is, you know, we want to be a part of something. We want to be a part of a group.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of...
And these people, as you said, they feel isolated, they feel lonely.
Lonely. It's a huge... I think it's going to be a huge epidemic. Maybe
Yeah.
that's just some sort of witch in me thinking.
No, I can see where you're coming from, because the whole culture, the whole economic culture as well, is changing in such a way that there's nothing about, you know, retaining sort of a community spirit in the country. It's all, let's go to the city. This is where it's happening, you know.
And you know, if you look at something like Wynns, even, Karl,
Yeah.
you know, people still, I still see people coming in.
Yeah.
People come in because they want to feel in some way, shape or form at home in the city.
Brilliant.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You see elderly men and elderly women by themselves, you know, in a really dignified way, kind of sitting there going, I'm in this institution called Wynns and I feel safe in the city and I'm not lonely, even though I'm in the city by myself. That to me is
Part of home, really.
Part of home, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so true, you know, because when you think of most Dublin families, all their origins are more than likely from the country.
From the
anyway.
country, yeah.
You know.
See, the blood has to be kept going. The country still has to fuel. You know, the Jacquelines can't have it all.
Not a chance. No, not having any of it, you know.
You're a true and true Dub, aren't you?
Yes, guilty as charged.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Guilty as
You're
charged.
from right in the heart of it, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, but as I said, going back on my side, we you know, originally came from the likes of Kilkenny, Carlow, and the west of Ireland, you know.
Yeah.
You'll never beat the west, you know.
You can't beat the West.
Yeah.
I met a taxi man the other day, a lovely man from Sligo. I said to him, "You're from Mayo, aren't you?" He said, "No, I'm not." He said, "I'm from Sligo," and I said, "But there's a bit of Mayo there." He said, "Well, you got me." He said, "I'm actually 6 miles from Mayo. I'm just inside the border of Sligo." I said, "You see, I have you spotted," I said. And I didn't tell him what I do as a profession, but your ear gets very finely tuned to accents all over the country.
Yeah.
And he said to me afterwards, "How did you know I was from Sligo?" I said, "Yeah, watching you."
The whole way. Keep an eye on these Sligo men, you know?
Yeah.
So just to finish up there, Paddy, we'll say aspiring actors now that want to get into theatre. I know you've probably got this question 1,000 times over. What words of encouragement would you give to somebody now that wanted to get into acting and work as a professional actor?
Do you know what? I haven't been asked it much, really.
Okay.
And thank you for asking me it. I think it has completely changed from when I moved up here, where I was able to get, you know, really reasonable accommodation on a junior actor's salary, on a low salary. I was still able to live, and I was still able to have a few pints and socialise, and so I was one of the lucky ones, and that was I suppose a time that will never happen again. So like, I didn't have to work at anything else when I moved to Dublin first. You know, the industry knew that of people of my age and experience, and they helped us along, and the industry nurtured us.
Yeah.
So it made sure that there was productions put on with big casts every summer, and you know what I mean, in the Abbey or the Gate or the Olympia or whatever it was. There was always a sense of, you know, that everyone was helping each other along. The industry was keeping itself fed and keeping itself warm. But that doesn't exist anymore because commerce and because it's so, the city is so expensive. And so my advice to any young, aspiring, creative person coming up is to say, make sure you have something else. Make sure you have another string to your bow so that you can actually sustain yourself, but that you never allow your creativity to be dampened. Always find a route for it, you know.
Yeah.
But just be ready for how tough it is compared to when I started off. And I found it tough, but like it must be 100 times more tough now for people.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely. With all the costs alone, just surviving it.
Yeah, and also, you know, that, but the encouraging thing I would say is, don't put yourself in competition with anybody else. Because I, as a very young man, I kind of got it in a way, and I was lucky to be able to register it in my mad head that there was no one else sounds like me, no one else looks like me, no one else talks like me or moves like me. So I never put myself in competition with anybody else. I think to do that to yourself, you're actually slaughtering a part of your creativity because you want to fit in some way.
Yeah, which makes complete sense, really. You know?
I think being you, uniquely
concentrate
you,
on your uniqueness. Yeah.
to concentrate on that is actually is a great freedom creatively, and ultimately I think will lead you to fruitful projects and a future like that.
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't think you could have given a more sound response to an answer like that.
And I still don't have a clue.
Question.
I'm still only learning
Yeah.
how to get by in it. But, you know, for anyone to say that they know what they're doing in the industry, you know, is folly, really, because it's all you're just skating along on very thin ice.
Yeah, well, like most things, you know, but it takes a lot of courage, you know, a lot of courage. So listen, thanks a million, Paddy.
Thank you so much.
It's an absolute privilege.
It just feels like I'm just talking to you at home at the kitchen table.
Yeah, the way it should be, you know.
It's great.
Yeah, no, thanks a
Thank
million.
you so
Thanks
much,
a million,
Karl.
Paddy.
Cheers,
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.